Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about volume and surface area. So there is a difference between the two of them. The first is that the basic idea of volume is it's how much space a shape takes up in the real world. It's always going to be three-dimensional. So for example, you might want to look at an aquarium and figure out how much water you can put in it. So the volume of an aquarium would be how much water you can put in. Whereas with surface area, that's just how much space is on all of the sides of a shape put together. It's in two dimensions. An example in the real world could be the amount of area that you need to paint on a house, because that's pretty much two-dimensional. It's the amount of all the sides of the house put together. Now we're going to talk about the formulae for the surface area and volume of a few shapes. There is a different formula for a number of shapes. Let's take a cylinder to start with. If we've got a cylinder, I know that says cone, but it's a cylinder. The volume is pi times the radius squared times the height. The pi times radius squared probably looks familiar, right? Pi times radius squared is how we find the area of a circle. So for a cylinder, we're figuring out the area of the circle times the height of the cylinder. Most of them basically come out to base times height. Now for the surface area, we're going to say it's 2 pi times the radius times the height. Now for a pyramid, the volume of a pyramid is a third of the area base times the height. But for the surface area, look at what the different sides of a pyramid look like. We've got 4 triangles and 1 square, right? So we need to figure out the area of each of the 4 triangles, add them together, and then add that to the area of the square. For a cone, the volume of a cone is a third of the base times the height. The reason that we say 1/3 is usually when we figure out the area of a triangle, it's either going to have to it's going to be the base times the height divided by either 3 or 2. In this case, it's 3. And when you look at a cone from the side, it looks kind of like a triangle. For the surface area, it's pi times radius squared for the area of the circle, plus pi times radius times s for this sort of fan shape that the outside of the top of the cone makes. And finally, for prisms, it's always base times height for volume. But for the surface area, it's a little more complicated because it depends on what kind of prism. Like for this prism up top, we've got, well, it's the 3 sides in the middle, plus the triangle on the top, plus the triangle on the bottom. For this roughly cubic, well, rectangular prism, oh, it's those 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the left and right ones. So with prisms, try to make what they call a nest. A nest is this sort of a view of all the sides put together. Try to visualize that. Here's a nest of a cone. Here's a nest of a pyramid, where it's like you sort of cut it up and figure out what the sides would look like.